seen properly. So this time, can you like just record it and see if I'm visible?
You are visible right now. Yeah. So,
Fully visible.
guys, we kind of started this recording, and we have Adara again. She is by
Hello.
far the best guest on this channel who brought up the best crazy information. So we called her pretty quickly again because she has a lot to say. And I need to give you a short update, guys, what I was doing and everything. So essentially, I will kind of talk for 6 minutes and then I will let you Adara speak. I kind of needed to say this in the beginning because a lot of people ask me what happened to me recently because I said I was attacked by negative entity or whatever. And I kind of need to clarify that and how Hindu spirits helped me with that. So essentially, we all kind of have guardian spirits who are assigned to us at birth. And those spirits are essentially part of our karma. They are bound to our souls at birth. And some of those spirits are not necessarily good. So those spirits, they are kind of part of our souls and they cannot be removed, but they can be put under control and they can be mastered and they can be neutralized in a way.
Yeah. That's true.
So I kind of figured a lot of people who came to me with the same symptoms. So the symptoms were them being pressured in the head, feeling extreme heat, hearing voices, and being completely disillusioned from reality. But there was clearly a spiritual cause because medication didn't help, and certain spiritual rituals aided them. So I always suggest those people to be medicated because medication makes them more mentally stable, which makes me easier to work. But in their case, it was like pretty severe. So what I did is I essentially invoked a bunch of spirits, including Hindu entities, to find out what was happening there. And then every spirit will tell me the same thing, that yes, there is a part of it which is spiritual, but what they are dealing with was part of them, essentially. So after months and months of working with them and studying it and invoking all kinds of shit, at the end I kind of overworked myself and I got the same symptoms as they do. And so I literally had to take that thing under control, take that aspect of myself, which is semi-independent spirit, under control. But I was then instructed by Kali to call multiple tantric spirits, dark tantric entities, such as certain pretas, certain ghosts, and Asura Kalanemi too. He is like a famous guy. But I work with him too. So essentially, I am in contact with the Ayan World Foundation, and they are actually Hindu guys. And they have like a Patreon page. And on that Patreon page, you can literally find like yantras to contact like Shiva and Kali and Shukracharya and all of that stuff. Like they like kind of put it for technically free, and like you need to pay $5 to access it, like some ridiculous small fee. So they kind of gave me an exorcism procedure too. And so it involves doing three things. So the first thing, so you have like a left hand pathway and then you have right hand pathway. So the left hand pathway kind of has two steps. The first step is like calling hordes of negative entities. What they call it like in our literature is like Kara Panayal Tala. It's like some form of a crossroads between our realm and the Talic realms. It's like a middle. So what you essentially do at first is you draw the yantra, and you, by the way, what's really interesting, I called them today, by the way, for purpose of my own banishing and exorcism and also to help the friend. What you kind of need to do when you do that really Hindu demonic stuff, because those are actually demons according to Hindu lore. Asuras are, I think, forbidden to worship. Only Bali is allowed.
Yes, yes, yes,
If they
yes.
catch you, if they catch you doing Asura stuff, you would be lynched because
Yeah.
there is like a famous case. I think it was in Bengal or in Tamil Nadu. Correct me if I'm wrong. Some
Okay.
motherfucker did Asuric rituals and dismembered the child for it, and then entire village mobbed and killed the motherfucker. So yeah, it's kind of taboo
Okay.
in
Now,
India.
I am not aware of this, but yeah, I know that asuras are not worshipable entities according to Hindu traditions. They are not called.
Yeah, but essentially, what they kind of teach uh, is like official kind of doctrine, right? Official kind of doctrine of school they let me in is like you should invoke both, so Talik and Loka entities, but they kind of allow people who are part of it to kind of work exclusively with Lokas or with Talas if they want. And nobody would like police you or anything. And so there are like two ways of doing exorcism. One is like you do Karapanayal, you call hordes of demons, and then you call one Preta and Vinayaka Dantin. Dantin is actually a shadow form of Ganesh. He's like a demonic aspect of Ganesh,
Come again,
dark.
just come again. I want to hear. It's not very clear what you said because Lord Ganesha has many names. So, what did you just
So
say?
Vinayaka Dantin is kind of name
Vinayak,
of
yeah, Vinayak is one of his names. Vinayak, Lambodar, these all are his names. Yeah. But I didn't really know. This is very interesting. If you let me speak, or maybe you should speak first, I'll speak later about this.
yeah. So you call Dantin and you call that ghost, and then you essentially need to summon the spirit which is possessing the guy, and then you need to force the spirit to comply. But then again, it's like fucking nightmare. And so there is like a third way of doing it, which is to ask Narasimha for help. It's like
Lord
an avatar.
Narayana's fierce form. Yeah. Lord Vishnu's fierce form. That is
Yeah,
Narasimha.
yeah, it's like Vishnu's form of like lion-headed warrior protector of the world. He kind of guards the heavenly realms from the attack from below. And what I kind of found interesting is like, so uh, I am talking for 7 minutes, so you are a guest here, so I will really let you speak whatever you want to speak.
That's okay. That's just okay. Go
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So essentially, what's interesting is you have like legend. So Asuras and Devas, they are like moving the Milky Ocean, right? So they are
Yeah.
like moving the Milky Ocean, and shit is coming out. And so what essentially Devas do to the Asuras is they want a nectar of immortality, but Asuras get it first. So Vishnu transforms into a lady, and he
Mohini.
takes, yeah,
Mohini.
Mogini, and he takes the nectar from Asuras to Devas essentially, and they kind of drink the nectar, and Asuras got immortal, but Asuras still live, right? So how do they nurture themselves? They obviously don't die. There are no like so far dead Asuras. All Asuras recorded in a text are pretty much alive and well, and nobody kind of kicked the bucket. Like even Vritra is summonable, so he is not dead. And so how do they survive? So there is like a sea of negative energy, which is in the underworld, like in that lower underworld, there is like a sea of negative energy. And so Asuric chiefs, the Asuras, they kind of drink it and they eat it. Like they feed off that negative energy and they use it for sustenance essentially. And so when you work with them, what they kind of do to you is they overload your aura with negative energy, and your animalistic urges get triggered, and so psyche breaks apart, and you kind of see the same thing as you do normal way. But it's kind of controversial, and that's why people who do it, they usually live in graveyards and burn stuff and shit like that. But like, to me, what I kind of found out is what's weird to me Like it was really difficult for me to understand. It's you go through all of those asuras, right? So first you go through the ghosts, and then you go to Apasmara Mayalakan, I believe, and then you go through Rakshasa demons, and then you go through the Kalanemi. So you go through four of them, and then at the end, after you finish with Kalanemi, they kind of tell you, "Hey, you can like approach Kali and Shiva now." And I am like, "What? Like how that even works?" And then it kind of turns out that kind of Shiva rules both Ganavas, which is celestial
He rules
hordes,
both them. He
and he
doesn't just
also, yeah, he works, he controls everything, and Kali like does it too. And I'm like, okay. And so you work with Shiva and Kali. But what's interesting is there is a reason why there is a ladder there or descending stairway, right? Because like when you go to Shiva and Kali stage, because I kind of work with Kali for the decent period of time, because I kind of reported to them my experiences and I filmed videos and everything, and they saw it, and when they and then they allowed me to kind of work with Kali. Hey, you can work with Kali, but like be careful because it's like dangerous. And so I work with Kali for a time, and then I work with Shiva for a time. And the reason why it's dangerous is after you go through the descending ladder. Uh, so I will talk about my today's experience, and then yeah, I will finish this. So after you go through the descending ladder, those gods, Shiva and Kali at the end, will approach you differently. So
yeah,
they will
yeah, that's
like immediately go to you and they will say, "We will kind of trigger you certain experiences," and then they will teach you how to like go into trances and see spirals and everything. And so today I did similar session with Shiva, and like I was unable. So after I finished my meditation and I got into states, and it was really intense, and I finished. I go outside, and my mind starts returning to it again spontaneously, and I needed about 2.5 hours to navigate myself out of it. And if you like go into it, and I didn't took any drugs, I didn't drink anything, I didn't smoke anything, it was natural, and I kind of understood what's the point of those all warnings, because really you can end up in a mental hospital
yes,
within a
yes,
few
yes.
hours if you go into this unprepared, because those spirits will literally explain to you scientifically, step by step, what to do, and it will work every single time. And yeah, you know it too. You are one of the few people who actually understand what I'm talking about. And
Yeah,
I am glad
absolutely.
I had you on the show again. So yeah, what about you as human incarnated Dankini in this three-dimensional realm?
Yeah, well, so the thing is that first of all, I always make it a point. I don't really believe in it's my personal like way to go about it. I have had the most intense and heavy and almost maddening experience just with Bilial, just with him, leave alone anybody else. He was enough to trigger everything, to challenge me to the core, and to make me come to terms with my reality as a goddess, my reality as outside the human periphery. So I can say this for sure that if one demon can do this, then imagine going through the entire, I would call it the Hindu clifford, you know. Uh, I totally understand the thing about losing your sanity. It is true. And that's why I always tell everyone, do not take this thing lightly because people are so excited, I'm working with a demon and I'm working, it's so badass that you're lured by it. But the thing is that if your foundation is not right and if you're not able to keep balance, there's no use working, because it's true, you can actually end up in a mental hospital. It's not a joke. It's not a fucking joke. So take it seriously. uh, Taking step by step and following the process is a must. This is what I would like to say before I even begin on the topic. Intensity is fine. Dealing with it is fine. Dealing with shit is fine. That's absolutely okay. We on this path are meant to do that. But losing yourself completely, no, I really would not say yes to that. uh, at all costs, you should remember who you are at all costs. Your individuality matters. Who you are matters. Having said that, let's get back to our today's topic, that is darkening in human form. Now, there are two, I would say, categories under this darkening in human form. One is when you embrace the teaching or the wisdom of the darkening. So that is, you can do that by following Dakini Vidya. Vidya means knowledge or teachings. So I would, a Dakini like that would simply mean following the path of the witch. Okay, embracing the path of the witch. The one who walks between the worlds. She's a Dakini. That is when a woman transforms into the a witch or follows the path of the witch. She defies the societal norms, or she does things that are not considered normal, not following the beaten track, walking the path of the witch. That is Dakini Vidya. Okay. When you learn the path of the Dakini and you follow it and you go through inner transformations. The other is embodiment of the Dakini spirit in you. Like you are a Dakini spirit having a human experience. Now, this is the one that we are going to talk about. This is the category we are going to talk about. When you're a Dakini spirit in human form, and then there is a set mission, I would call it a set mission to make it easier for people to understand. And it is embedded in you. It's like, there's a chip that's inside you, and you just know in your incarnation that your role more or less is to play it out as a Dakini in this world, in this realm, in the material world. So you're very focused, you're very oriented to your goal, and that is to invoke and to yeah, to invoke this inspiration, this motivation in people by putting them through challenges or by inspiring them in various ways uh, to follow the left hand paths, to follow their truth, to deal with their shadow self, and to emerge successful. Now, yeah, so Dakini spirit embodied in a human frame. She comes with a specific life purpose. She's on a mission. And it is like she has this inner knowing all her life that I don't belong here. I know where I'm coming from. But now, here also, there is a difference. Uh, you must have heard about the avatars, like in
Yeah.
Hindu spiritual system, you have the avatars, the incarnations of different gods and goddesses. I wouldn't say that the Dakini is an avatar, but she is like an aspect. It's like she's a drop from that ocean. For example, the goddess is there and she's like a drop of that goddess, but a splinter. Even that one drop is enough to stir a human being when she is in your life. No matter what role she's playing, how you're coming in contact with her, that doesn't matter. But the Dakini is going to stir you, she's going to open you, and sometimes open you gently, and sometimes open you like, it's like she bombed your entire system and you're like open, just like that. You cracked open basically. When that happens, you can't deal with her energy. And when she goes the other way, the motherly way, the nourishing way, then you feel very much at peace with yourself and very much at peace with the world around you. So she lives a very human life, a simple life, and it's very hard to identify a Dakini. People say if you dress up in a certain way, you're wearing black robes and you've got a long hair and you're looking very beautiful, you're a Dakini. No, that's not the truth at all. Um, you can make yourself look like anything. That doesn't make you a Dakini. What makes you a Dakini is your energy. When you don't speak much, when you don't do anything, but you touch people and you have that power of touching people. You just don't say what you're supposed to do to a person, but you lead them to a spiritual path that they follow. They're just simply inspired by you. And that is your job. You're just doing your job as a Dakini. You know it, it's embedded in your system. So you know, now when a Dakini is born in human form, she goes through the human, what do you call it, life just like any other human being. Just that the only difference is that she has an awareness, which from her childhood to her younger age depends from person to person based on uh, how their latent powers or how their latent gifts are awakening. She would be able to recognize that in her. She would know it. There's this undeniable inner knowing that nothing can shake. And she feels very much like very responsible for doing a certain thing, very responsible that I have to do something for them, or I have to do something for, there's a purpose I have here. I'm not just here to make merry. So she's very focused. The Dakini is very focused and skilled on her work, and she knows it, what she ought to do. Whether she comes in contact with an awakened man or a man with latent capabilities, that really doesn't matter. She would just touch him in the right place. It's like, you take your finger and just take it, point it towards the heart of the person, just do it like this, and the person is like, oh my gosh, what just hit me? So that's her job basically. That's a job profile of a Dakini. And no matter what setbacks she goes through as a human being, one thing that's very important to note in a Dakini is that she's very resilient. She's always like a phoenix rising, always. You hit her, she's back. You hit her, she's back. So she'll go through a human life just like a human woman, but well aware of her job, well aware of who she is, where she is coming from, and feeling very responsible towards her work in the world, in this world. And she would also have this feeling inside her that you know um, once the job is done, I'll go. And normally she would, like, as in human death, normally once the work is done, she would go. And in spite of having relationships, she's detached to those relationships because she's focused about what her role is in the world. Now, if she is treated with respect, now you don't know your daughter is a Dakini, or your wife is a Dakini, or your sister is a Dakini, or your girlfriend is a Dakini. You don't know that. For her, it's just a role she's playing. Okay. Now, if you treat her knowingly or unknowingly with a lot of love and respect, she would bless you without even telling you anything. And you'll see your life transforming. You'll see yourself transforming in various ways. And if uh, unknowingly you have hurt her or caused her any kind of troubles or torment at any level, you will see things falling apart. It does happen. And she acts and behaves like a normal person. She looks like a normal person. There's nothing like, you cannot spot, okay, she's a Dakini. You cannot say that. You cannot spot her. She mixes with the crowd. And in spite of that, there's this dark light about her that touches you, and you know, yeah, there is something. I know there is something. I notice it. So that is what a Dakini is. But she normally stays in a guhya state, like, in a secretive state. That's there, like, embedded in her. I think that's the.
Yeah. So essentially, there is like a similar concept I was like introduced to. Now I don't know is it the same concept, but uh, something similar, something
Mhm.
similar. So the out of this entire like tantric descending ladder, like you have multiple steps. So you go to Preta realm, and then you go to Pishacha realm, and then you go to Dantin, and then you go to Arakshasa demons, and then you go to Asuras, and then you go to Kali and Shiva, right? In this entire like descending ladder, there is like one being, which is kind of known as Mayalakan or a Pasmara. He's like a dwarf Shiva is dancing upon on the infamous statue. You are probably familiar with the story. And he is like the only spirit I can like draw a yantra out of the blue and simply call whenever I wish, because I have that level of resonance with him. The biggest of all the And so he introduced me to the concept of like being a graveyard demon in flesh. So you literally, because he's kind of ruling the graveyard demons essentially. Those Pishacha demons, they kind of live on the graveyard. And what they mostly do is they pester people. I don't know how to describe what they do better than pestering. So they are like not possessing anyone. They are not necessarily haunting stuff. They are feeding of people and feeding of those burning corpses and mostly inducing crazy visions to people and epileptic attacks, kind of driving them insane. You are kind of already familiar with the lore, but I am saying this to the audience because the audience is like mostly Western people.
They're
And
much like they're much like, if you have heard in the Mid Eastern system, they're much like the ghouls.
yeah,
The
yeah,
ghouls. Yeah.
the goals. Yeah, yeah. And so, what he kind of asked me to do is he kind of partially possesses, and then what he asks you to do is to speak gibberish, absolute gibberish. And then, but that gibberish, if you do it long enough, kind of imitates the state of epileptic attack. He kind of plays with your brain and plays with the wavelengths in the brain. And so you go on with that gibberish, and then all of a sudden you receive enormous amounts of negative energy, and you kind of become like that graveyard demon. And the energy, once you